From the mountains of Montana, welcome to Big Sky Country, the 2023 Zootown Open, presented by Inc. Realty Group and driven by Innova. We're at Blue Mountain for this Disc Golf Pro Tour Silver event. Grant Zellner and Brian Earhart with FPO action on this Friday morning. Vanessa Van Dyken already on the course. On hole number one, this her second. And to the edge of the bullseye, Hannah Stefanovic, also in the second to last card of the day. Pardon, that's Lindsay Fish there. Lindsay Fish a little long. Kristen Tatar in the field in this silver event. Brian Earhart, she played a masterful game of golf last week in Portland.
You know, it's so funny. We've had this talk all season. Jack of all trades master. After last week, I realized that's not true of everything. And she showcased the circle 2 was just absolutely under control. She was throwing the disc well. She was leading a lot of the driving categories. She never looked stressed out. She just has an answer for every situation, and I can no longer say that she's a jack of all trades, master of none. I'm starting to think that we're witnessing some serious greatness that will be sustained over the next few seasons. So at least the FPO division now knows what the benchmark is to catch up to.
Kristen Tatar on point. It seemed she herself a little, I don't know if critical is the right word, but said there were some moments last week she didn't feel quite sharp, but Kristen at 90 or 95% able to pull out multi-throw victories and in the field. In fact, there she is waiting her opportunity to tee off here on hole number one. This Kristen's second jaunt to the United States during the course of this season. Got to go home for a while, Brian, and rest with friends and family.
I think it went well.
Yeah, no doubt about it. An important part of the pro touring player's game, getting a chance to find those restful moments. Lindsay Fish, her second putt now, going with the turbo from a little distance and a little low. We'll stay here with the second card. Hannah Stefanovic saves the par at the par 4 first. Van Dyken in. Back momentarily here on the Disc Golf Network and back with Kristen Tatar. Don't go away.
Hi, I'm Innova Team Captain Nate Sexton. Welcome to our instructional disc golf series. Maybe even bank over to the right, and that's going to give the putt loft. Slight flex line, so you'll see this come out a little bit higher to give you a variety of different shot shapes. The farthest away player should go first towards the basket.
Pound's the best of the best. It's the quality, the craftsmanship, the vision for what a bag could be. Let's start from the beginning. I didn't choose Pound, I chose Levi. I trusted Levi to make the best bag possible.
He's always trying to innovate. He wants it to be perfect. And I think he's the kind of guy that nothing's ever perfect.
I trust the product. I trust the people behind the product.
At this point, I don't think anyone's disputing that it's the best made bag.
2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Let's go.
Welcome back to Blue Mountain in beautiful Missoula, Montana. The featured card preparing to tee off on day number 1 of the Zootown Open. Looking down now at the mountainside.
Everybody, welcome to the 2023 Zootown Open.
And we'll listen in.
FPO feature card, 9:35 a.m. tee time. First on the tee from Grass Valley, California, Jessica Weiss.
That tall tree out in the background is a good reference point. You want to throw a nice stall hyzer that kind of challenges that. Good flex, though.
Oh, what a result.
Spokane Valley, Washington, Sai Ananda.
And Jessica's shot just crested the tops of those trees. And that's a fantastic two. Again, this is 483 feet.
Sayananda well positioned.
Montana, Erica Stinchcomb. Rounding out our feature card from Estonia, current world champion Kristen Tatar. Just a reminder, only VIP is allowed to go down and follow the cards. If you're not VIP, you gotta stay up top.
And we're off and running. Mr. Earhart quickly ahead to the tee pad at hole number 2. Vanessa Van Dyken.
This is just a textbook push hyzer. You want it to flip up just a tiny bit as it rides left.
Circle's edge, more or less. Back to hole 1. We can see what the players just attacked here. Brian, what do you see on this challenging downhill hole?
Well, you know, they're calling it a par 4 for the FPO division, but the fact that it's so downhill, it's just a challenging par 3. At least that's how the players are going to be playing it most of the time. You have to pick a reference point in the sky. You're not going to be able to see the basket. You have to play this hole, study the hole, and study where the pockets of airspace are too. Sometimes what looks to be a great spot to land, you're going to run into trees like this. So a lot of times pushing the disc high and wide with a nice stall to it, letting it kind of crash into the green is nice. Jessica Weiss challenged the tops of the trees with a little flex to drag it out right before crashing in. This is a really enjoyable opening shot. You can just kind of let it fly. The mountains are in the background. It is just a wonderful place to play disc golf. This is one of my favorite places to be in the country.
Players are at altitude and have been preparing to throw discs that behave a little bit differently up here in the mountains than they do at lower elevations.
Everyone except for Erica Stinchcomb, who is from Missoula, knows the course Blue Mountain all too well.
We'll have a long look at birdie there. Nate Perkins on the ground. Give us an idea of the conditions this early morning.
Oh, it's a beautiful day to be walking the course and joining you guys on the broadcast. The one thing that I'm picking up on early is that the mosquitoes are going to be a real issue. Down here on the green of hole 1, you can't even sit still for a moment before being attacked by dozens of them. So we'll see how that affects players on the putting green today.
Sounds unpleasant.
And really, we haven't had that big of an issue with mosquitoes this season. It's actually been kind of surprising. Haven't really had to even think about them until we get here. And yeah, they were pretty nasty. I walked the course yesterday to kind of refresh myself on the lines and landing zones, and they are out in full force.
Stinchcomb, her third here at the par 4. What a start.
Maybe that was part of the warm-up, Grant, just trying to get the blood flowing, starting off the round.
Yeah. One more time.
Kind of dragging the putter way to that left side of the body. Nearly throwing it in from circle 2. Solid putt. Here's Cy for a 2.
Right at the edge of the 10-meter circle. Inches away from eagle.
Tombstone, that one.
Jessica Weiss. That's a drop in for eagle for Weiss. Over to Vanessa Van Dyken. She's at the second. This for birdie. And that's a tap in for par for Van Dyken. Let's check out the course, Brian.
Blue Mountain is just a poster child for mountain disc golf here in Montana. You feel like you're out here in the mountains. It's so scenic. I would come here to play competitively. I'd come here to play recreationally. The interesting part about this course on the Disc Golf Pro Tour, it's only 7,300 feet for the FPO. It's one of the shortest courses that both divisions will play all year. It's a par 63. It's kind of a short par 63 for the FPO, but there's so many iconic holes that you will leave this tournament and remember for the rest of your disc golf career. For those of you who have not watched this course before, I cannot wait for you to see a full round here.
That's the UDisc course close-up. Quickly to Jessica Weiss, teeing off at 2.
That's the line you're looking for. Just a bit early. A lot of shots are landing left on this one. It's hard to actually stick a bullseye with how tucked the basket is.
Tempting to try to pin these as Sai Ananda is airborne. Not necessary, though.
Yeah, see, this is what you need to do. Stockheiser, little bit of flip. I know that driver's not super stable, that size throwing.
and accept the 20-footer. Stinchcomb. That'll be an open look.
And the players now on tour, they're used to not having perfect bullseye looks at the basket.
Late tree, Tatar, just outside of the circle. Brian, you mentioned this, one of the shortest courses, but one of the longest vertically. 23 to 24 stories worth of up and down throughout the round. That will get tiring as VVD off the tee on 3.
And that on this shorter par 4 is going to be very solid. She now has a nice tunnel shot up to the basket. There's a lot of just good placement golf on some of these par 4s. A lot of the scoring is going to be done here.
Dan Carey. Will have a chance to recover. Lindsay Fish already one down on the day.
Yeah, you see the Mando tree off to the right side, forcing you to go up the gut. See the tunnel off to the left side.
This par 4, just 378 feet.
Like you said, Grant, this course is a hike. And like I said, it's a short course distance-wise, and there's a lot of par 3s the players get to attack. However, your physical fitness out here matters so much. You will be huffing and puffing if you're not used to hiking courses like this, especially at the elevation.
Stinchcomb almost 2 for 2 from distance. Tatar. Over 50 feet to go here. Just off the mark.
You see how rough this course is, and I think to the naked eye you'd say, wow, this course is not well maintained. However, we are in Lolo National Forest right now, and mowing is not even allowed out here. So it's very tough to maintain a property like this. You have to get permission every step of the way.
Jessica Weiss a little light there. Sayananda a chance to pick one up on the card. Oh.
She's been one of the best putters on the tour, especially from Circle 2 this season. It's a high bar that she set.
So now a little more work to do. Short memory. Little barbecue on hole number 2. Ahead to the third, Deanne Carey, her second at the short par 4.
This is a little pinched off. We'll see what she has here. Yeah, that's about all you can do. I mean, The tunnel is so tight and so angled that you kind of have to be right where VVD is here.
Lindsay Fish, her second. Well done there for Lindsay Fish. All the players on the course. Missy Gannon already through the front 9 and already 7 under par. Everyone chasing Missy early.
I think this kind of course suits her game. She's kind of a force-over player to begin with. So I think for her, it's just a matter of changing a couple discs out and getting those lines back. And man, if the putter's going, this course can get absolutely shredded, especially by a player like Missy. So good on her now. But man, we have 3 rounds here at Blue Mountain, and anything can happen. And like you said, endurance over this weekend is going to be a big deal.
The field at Silver Events increasing in quality this year. Players after those valuable Disc Golf Pro Tour points. Back with Deanne Carey. Carey in for the par save quickly, Lindsay Fish. That's a birdie for Lindsay Fish at the 3rd. Lindsay back to even for the day. Stefanovic saving the par. Van Dyken to 2 down on the day. Jumping back to the tee here at the same. Jessica Weiss going to the forehand. Burns that one into the ground.
This hole does not look uphill on camera. It plays much more uphill than the players even realize. That's a really rough side of the green to be, or the fairway to be on. 4 is going to be a good score for her, especially because there's a Mando now blocking the open side hyzer.
Erica Stinchcomb. Perfectly placed. And Kristen Tatar.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's on that side, she can throw a little flex sidearm if she'd like.
Weiss already at her lie, throwing 2. Nicely done. And you can see there, players leaning into the hill that's not as apparent on camera. Brian Earhart, time for your blackinkdiscs.com breakdown.
I mean, I said a couple of these things already, but your physical fitness and leg strength out here matters so much. When your legs get tired playing Blue Mountain, it is so hard to stay sharp. and put the disc where you want to put it. You're going to have to shoot well. We see Missy Gannon is 7 down through 10. So you have to stay in condition. You have to breathe. You have to also make some equipment checks. Portland elevation is 50 feet above sea level. So there's a huge jump. You have to make sure that your lines that you want to throw are being matched by the equipment. There's just a lot out here to adjust to, not just with your game plan. And Kristen throwing that flex sidearm the way I thought she would. And the last thing that I wanted to say that was at the bottom there was, really, this is a shorter course. The holes are not going to be as brutal as some of the ones we see in the Disc Golf Pro Tour. Enjoy yourself. We are in the mountains of Montana. We're in Lolo National Forest. It is a wonderful place to be, and I think a lot of players come here because of that.
Stinchcomb, her second at the par 4. We'll have that left for a birdie. Sayananda, though, in jail.
Yeah, it's just an annoying lie. I mean, there is maybe a forehand roller if you are still looking for a 3, but it just doesn't look good. It's a very simple placement hyzer off the tee. You don't need to bite off too much. Yeah, I mean, you see that tempting forehand open lane on the right side, but Sai, not being a forehand favored player, pitches out to the middle.
Ahead, Vanessa Van Dyken on the 4th, also a par 4.
This hole is titled Mirkwood. It is a signature hole out here. Beautiful. What a shot.
Clean all the way through its flight, just 432 feet on that par 4. Back to Sayananda. Sai should get up and down there for her par save here at the 3rd. We look down from above. Thanks to Flight Factory for these beautiful shots of this mountainside course here at Blue Mountain. Gives you some idea of the thickness of the forest here.
There are just so many reasons to come to Missoula, Montana if you're a disc golfer, and obviously the course being one of them. The surrounding town is so full of life. There's so much to do. The downtown area is so enjoyable. There's so much fishing and hiking and hunting. If you are a disc golfer, this is a very underrated place to come as a tourist.
Tatar for birdie. And now Stinchcomb, the same from the high side. Finds the bottom of the basket, and you can hear the mosquitoes at times there on the ground.
I have heard multiple players already go out and buy a bug net for their their safari hats, getting prepared for the worst.
Sayananda up and down for the par save. Jessica Weiss also with the par save. Back soon from Missoula, Montana, and the Zootown Open right here on the Disc Golf Network.
Disc golf education is important because it prolongs the length of our sport and the popularity of our sport, and the most receiving of disc golf is children. So if we get that introduced to them young, they might grow up to be the next Paul McBeth or the next Paige Pierce, and we don't know it.
I got 41 feet for Gossage. It's a game of inches. The Portland Open champion, Adam Hannes.
Join the Paul McBeth Foundation's Builders Club to help bring sustainable disc golf experiences to people and communities around the world. For a small monthly donation, you can help us make a real impact. Your donation will go directly to making a difference. By becoming a monthly subscriber, you'll also receive exclusive updates on our work, special offers, and discounts. So join us today and make a difference with the Paul McBeth Foundation. Together we can make a big impact, one small donation at a time.
Vanessa Van Dyken, her second at the par 4 fourth here at the Zootown Open.
Yeah, that is so good. That drive is so down the fairway. You can find yourself in so many sticky situations if you don't get off the tee clean. That is a textbook birdie from Vanessa.
Flight Factory showing us the view down through the treetops.
Yeah, I know. I'm like so glad the tour is here. It's fun.
On the next tee, will you please hold? I'll get the gallery in place.
Yeah.
On the next one.
Ahead to the group around the basket. The following group waits on the tee. Then Lindsay Fish. This is for birdie from circle 2. Just outside of the 10-meter limitations of circle 1. Just off the edge of the basket. Par 4, but players waiting to tee here because it is downhill and there is that chance of a disc finding its way.
Yeah, it's a strange hole because, yeah, it's not that long, but it's very tough to get to a good landing zone.
Anna Stefanovic. Great putt there. That's a par save for Hannah. Dan Carey a little high there, but into the basket. So after Deanne pars, Vanessa Van Dyken, the birdie. Back-to-back birdies on 3 and 4 for VVD. Now the final grouping of the day. Getting the all clear sign from the tee pad.
Oh my god. Oh my gosh. Do a smiley face with its tongue sticking out.
If you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong, Brian.
Especially out here. This is inspiring disc golf. Here's Erica on Mirkwood, hole 4.
Oh, one tree away from perfection.
Everything bends subtly left the entire way, and if it gets away from you, you can land in this really annoying ravine off to the left side, and there's so many tricky trees and gaps that you have to throw through. It's a very uncomfortable second if you don't get off the tee clean like Vanessa did.
To your point, B. Tatar down in that ravine a bit, but got some distance.
She did. There's just a lot of brush, and like I said, it is pulling teeth to remove anything like that on this course, so it definitely plays as obstacle.
Jessica Weiss making the spotter work a little bit. Sayananda caught a tree. We'll have to see what she has down there on the ground. No better place to go for today's Canna current conditions, the solution for growth and bloom. You can learn more at canna.com. Nate Perkins on the ground. What are the Canna current conditions?
They're pretty ideal down here, Grant. The sun is starting to peek out. It's mid-60s right now, and the wind's out of the west, just 5 miles per hour. And you would think with the canopy of pine trees that you wouldn't really be able to feel it, but standing behind the tee of hole 4 right here, you definitely could feel a little tailwind left to right. And you know, if the mosquitoes weren't just ravaging everybody here, I think it would be perfect. But it is still nonetheless a beautiful day here in Missoula.
Vanessa Van Dyken airborne on 5, short par 3, under 300 feet, and up to the circle. Now Erica Stinch come back on the 4th, trying to find a way. Pretty good result there, given what Erica had to work with. We'll have an open look at the basket. Might be a good time to note, Brian, very little OB on this entire property. Just a couple of holes have OB. Not really necessary, to your point, given the rough and the limitations on what course designers and maintainers are allowed to do here. So obstacles playing true and honest. So really no need for OB.
It's just so refreshing. I mean, I'm sure it's refreshing for the players. It feels like you're playing a casual round again. You actually have room to go scramble out of the woods. You actually are able to throw trick shots instead of just being instantly punished for missing a fairway. So I think a lot of these players are kind of desensitized to the pressure of throwing with roped OB everywhere, but then they come out here and it's almost hard to believe. This is a tough spot. And there are no clean lanes from where she is. There's a bunch of 3-4 foot gaps. She's throwing from the rough. She's uphill. This is going to be uncomfortable. Yeah.
Wow.
That's pretty good, Grant. That's actually just showcasing how good she is from that patent pending stretch out position. She has such good posture and good balance. That was so well done.
Lindsay Fish ahead on the 5th, going to the forehand.
I would much rather miss right on this hole than left. Left on the next hole, 5, is a huge drop off into the fairway of hole 4 here.
Jessica Weiss going high with the forehand. Gallery likes it.
You can say that a lot on this Blue Mountain course. There's a lot of weird places you can find yourself, and you get to scramble from them. Here's Fish.
Softly into the shadow of the basket. To Kristen Tatar. Got a lot of distance off the tee. Gets that disc to settle quickly. We'll have that left for the birdie here at the short par 4. Vanessa Van Dyken circles edge. Low and right.
Just a bit timid. Again, there's a big drop off behind the basket.
Erica Stinchcomb for the birdie.
Another C2 look for Erica. About 40.
Good confident bid there. Notice players carrying the umbrellas. The mountains in June. Little pop-up showers, not uncommon. Weiss for birdie.
Yes. Great putt.
Circle 2 birdie to go with that eagle on the first. Jessica Weiss, 3 under for the round. Tatar for birdie.
You know,
Tatar
Grant,
matches.
you wonder on this course what the hot round is going to be. You have Gannon 8 down through 13, Stacy Haas 6 down through 13. Are we going to see a 12 or 13 from somebody?
Players walking up the steep hillside to the 5th. Lindsay Fish on 6 now. Little layup there for Fish. Missy Gannon ahead of us on the course, already well into the back 9. Bogey free. 8 under par, including that eagle at the first.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty typical. I think if the putter for her is going, then then it could be even better. I mean, C2, she's putting like an animal right now, but she's missed some birdie putts from circle one. So this is showing that Missy has everything that it takes to shoot well into double digits on this course and set the pace for the rest of the field.
Missy, one of the early groups out today. So Vanessa Van Dyken for par at the 6th. Chaining out on the left. Deanne Carey lining things up. And that one's into the bottom of the basket. That was a par for Deanne Carey. Tatar now airborne on 5.
Very timid. That's going to be a long look for birdie there for Kristen, but a safe 3 if anything. There's only one place you don't want to go, and that's left on this one.
Jessica Weiss. Ultra safe off to the right.
There's also a really solid backhand hyzer skip shot, and we see Sai going left as well with the turnover. Kind of a bold move. I do like the shape.
Hangs that out just a little far. I think it stayed there on the top of the hill, though. Erica looking at the line you just mentioned, B.
Kind of skippy grass out there to the right side.
Swings it almost too far. Now needs some ground play coming back. Essentially pin high there, but well off to players right. Hole number 6 over the ravine. Vanessa Van Dyken off the tee.
Oh, look at this.
Beautiful shot.
Yeah, not enough to get up the hill, but still the shape was great.
Round 1 of the Zootown Open brought to you by the Disc Golf Network for free on YouTube. This whole first round available here on YouTube for free. So thanks to us. Did that sound as bad as I thought it did? If you want to see the rest of the weekend, obviously, you need to make sure you subscribe to the Disc Golf Network. We'll get you started, though. Sayananda, fortunate, I think, to stay this close to the open space at the top of the hill here. You mentioned, Brian, below where Sai is standing, you're down in that ravine where we just played hole number 4, so you get some idea of the steepness here at Blue Mountain, some of which we're always talking about doesn't translate very well on camera. Sai has been so impressive this year. It's like she's been waiting for a chance to showcase her talent to the world. Tatar, just a layup.
Yeah, Sai is a player I've been paying close attention to this season, especially after Texas State's, when me and you called her win on against Kristen Tatar. just felt like it came out of nowhere despite her playing since '09. You just see the confidence just screaming through the way she plays the game right now.
Stinchcomb second. Bold bid there. You can see how quickly the drop-off begins to come into play. Jessica Weiss.
Thanks. Don't get yourself in trouble now.
You won't miss a thing. We go picture in picture on the Disc Golf Network. Impressive, yes? Stay with us.
Should have brought some snacks.
I got you.
Ah!
I got you. I got you. I got you.
Oh, Karen, do you know where hole 17 is?
I got you!
Is that a compass? Karen, why do you have this?
Ethan, just help me. We gotta get this set up.
Okay.
It's getting dark.
My name is Ricky Wysocki. I founded the Saki Bomb Foundation as a nonprofit organization committed to growing the sport of disc golf with America's youth. The foundation's First Putt initiative puts 50 discs and one portable basket in the hands of PE teachers across the United States at no cost to the school. We've already sent First Putt packages to schools in all 50 states with the generous support from our sponsors. If you want to be a part of this movement, visit SakiBombFoundation.org. Thank you for growing the sport of disc golf with us.
Flying the sixth here at Blue Mountain, the anything but straightforward 324-foot par 3.
Yeah, it's such an enjoyable hole. I mean, we watched the line that Vanessa Van Dyken threw to try to get up the fairway. It's a nice, subtle flip up with a little bit of turn at the end with that righty backhand. A forehand can get yourself some sort of look short of the basket, but since it is uphill, it plays a little bit longer than 324. I'm saying closer to 350, 360. Yeah, there's just a couple of specific gaps, and actually, I believe this hole has actually opened up a bit over the years, making it a little bit more direct to the basket.
How do you not mention the ravine, Brian? That's more than a ditch.
Well, I've had some experiences in that ravine that I don't want to relive, Grant.
I understand. Vanessa Van Dyken up ahead. And now Lindsay Fish also up ahead.
Thank you.
Soft layup. Get an idea of the steep uphill finish here at the end of the sixth. That's a great look there. You do get an idea from this angle of the topography here, and this certainly not the steepest of basket locations. And the roll away proving my point. I did not want it to prove my point, but it does. Anna Stefanovic. She hears the dreaded "you're still away" from her card mates. Now we'll have a much more challenging putt for the bogey save. and under the basket. Nate Perkins is down there awaiting the final card at the green, so he's watching these putts. Nate, can you speak to the topography here at Blue Mountain, the elements of it that might not come across on a screen?
Yeah, I think Brian touched on it really well earlier. You really just can never tell on camera how uphill. Here on the 6th, it's flat for the first 250 feet or so, and then a pretty steep uphill slope to the pin. And you could see there, if you hit this basket, you really should expect a rollaway. And then the rough here outside the circle, it's pretty hard to putt on. It makes you kind of putt from your chest, this kind of spin delivery. So we'll see how it plays out here for this feature card.
Looking down at the tee, the thick foliage there just in front of the tee is the ravine we've been talking about. A bad kick can put you down in that ravine. Deanne Carey just took multiple throws to get back up and out of it moments ago, so dangerous. Krishna Tatar, invincible to the danger.
Just a bit short, 45 feet uphill. And again, like Perkins said, this is not 50-50 if you're hitting the basket. It's a much more weighted coin toss in regards to a rollaway here.
Jessica Weiss, never afraid to go to the power forehand.
Wow. That is a smash of a forehand, Grant. Honestly, the type of forehand that it takes to get to this green is exactly the type of forehand Jessica Weiss is awesome at. Let's take a look at this little hyzer flip, kind of nose up release as well with something understable, but it's still fast enough to check up.
Not for that rock. Still to circle's edge.
You know, locals watching this probably see that shot and go, yeah, I try to match that line every time I throw this hole. Doesn't always play out like that.
Vanessa Van Dyken ahead on the 7th, a short par 3, just 227 feet. Sort of a side hill challenge here.
Yeah, a lot of ground falls away from you on that left side, and you have to make sure if there's no spotter, you watch your disc roll too if it does hit the ground wrong. Here's Sai.
That abbreviated run-up we've gotten familiar with from Sai Ananda. So much control. A little bit of a magic window there. And Erica Stinchcomb, the local. And gets a little local love. Over-torqued that drive, but found a tree. So we jump ahead to the 7th. Lindsay Fish needs to go more or less dead straight. Goes to the forehand. Not a bad play here. Plinko through the treetops. Should have a look at the basket from where Lindsay Fish ended up there. May not be a great look, but a look nonetheless. Back to Stinchcomb on 6. A little work to do, but a pretty generous gap by Blue Mountain standards. Little 20-footer left to save the par. Erica sporting the aviator sunglasses. Brian, can you play disc golf wearing sunglasses? I can't.
No, I probably can't see that well, Grant. It's going to really affect my shots. I actually don't wear sunglasses at all when I play disc golf. I had to borrow a pair one time from Austin Turner back in 2021, I believe. I was just putting on a basket and the sun was directly behind the chains, and that was the only time I think I've had to use them. But some players like Erica, Drew Gibson, I remember Will Shoestrick back when he was playing. almost exclusively play with them on.
Sure. It's an interesting little element. Some players need them. Some players on the opposite end of the spectrum can't wear them. It messes with my depth perception. I feel like it does anyway. But whatever makes everyone feel comfortable. Sayananda, her second. Oh, boy.
Sai just played for 2,500 people last weekend in Portland, and now gets to play a much more laid-back event with a much smaller crowd. I'm sure it feels great being back in this area playing disc golf on a course that feels more like the one that you grew up playing.
Sure, yeah. People forget Sayananda from the state of Washington. For many years, focused a lot of her play in this region of the country while maintaining a part-time job at Taco Bell. Jessica Weiss, unfortunate roll away off of the tee, negates a beautiful shot. What a picture. Freeze frame it, put it on a postcard, send it home to mom.
Yeah, there's so many different parts of this course that you can make postcards out of, and that's what I think is cool about this course. There's so much variety in the type of holes, whether you're down below or you're up top on the mountain. It's just, it's such a scenic course in so many ways.
Erica, big par save there as the local trying to keep pace. Everybody's saving par. Players probably wise to not be looking ahead too much at what other players are doing on the course. Missy Gannon has stalled out just a little bit. 4 pars in a row, still at 8 under par. Still obviously an incredible round. To Vanessa Van Dyken offline here.
Oh, yeah.
No problem. If you're watching for free right now on YouTube, welcome. Happy to provide that for you today. However, if you want to see the rest of the weekend's action, subscribe to the Disc Golf Network. QR code for your convenience.
Really, the way you watch disc golf live is on that final day. That's where all the money you put into it is worth it, is when you get to watch those exciting finishes, the playoffs, just like we saw last week at the Portland Open. Adam Hammes, Corey Ellis, and Aaron Gossage coming down to the final hole, pushing to a playoff, and ended up with Adam Hammes on top. But you wouldn't get to watch that otherwise, and I think I see so many comments of people right after these tournaments end saying, this is why I watch disc golf live.
And as always, playoffs and extra holes provided for free. No extra charge. Lindsay Fish forced to go to the forehand putt. And back to the tee here at the short par 3. Kristen Tatar just a little offline. Now Jessica Weiss.
No.
Jessica a little more offline, and that's rolling, Brian.
Yeah, that's I hate to be so blunt, but that's just a failure, and I think Jessica knows it. This is a really short hole. We saw Vanessa Van Dyken go standstill putter. It is really short, and you just have to watch your landing.
Sayananda clipping the tree branches and coming into just outside of the bullseye.
Yeah, this is one that a par is going to feel like a bogey for you.
Erica. It's probably a B- effort for Erica.
I mean, Sai is really the only one with a clean look at the basket here. You know, otherwise, we got some tough looks at the basket with that slope still in play. Here's Vanessa on 8, straight ahead, 241.
From the shortest hole on the course to the second shortest hole on the course. Vanessa up the hillside a little bit. And back overhead at the 7th. Jessica Weiss making her way steeply down the hillside.
And like I said, this is one where if there's not a spotter that is on it, you could lose your disc hundreds of feet away on this one. I've seen it happen.
Jessica does have a window to get up and down, though. Awkward stance. Fortunate to avoid the rollaway. Now Kristen Tatar wants no part of this 55-footer. Stinchcomb. About a 52-footer for the birdie.
Wow!
So comfortable with that throwing style distance putt. Erica Stinchcomb, another angle.
I just love it. She's been firing these circle 2 putts all day, hitting metal pretty much every time. Jamming one on hole 1, now here on 7.
So much timing required to make that putt work with that much arm motion. Now Weiss to save. Big save for Jessica Weiss. Sayananda, the best drive by far.
A little bit of a left to right wind here. Put it a little bit higher.
Confident putt for Sayananda. That takes Sai to 3 under par for the day. Tatar in and walking up the hill to the 8th. We are now at the 8th. Vanessa Van Dyken circles edge. Once again, a little timid for Vanessa, low and right. It's been her miss today. Looking down at the featured card. Tee of 8.
We have this beautiful drone flyover, and I have to throw it down to Nate Perkins because, Nate, we are approaching a different part of the course. It's just really beautiful to now come out of the woods and get close to the top.
Yeah, the green of hole 7 is really where the views kind of begin here at Blue Mountain. You just start to see over the tops of these ponderosa pines, and you can see the mountains in the background with the clouds still just below the peaks, and really great place to play, Brian.
Van Dyken for par up ahead at the basket here on 8. And Deanne Carey. That's for par as well.
Someone just told me that one of their friends had played. Yeah, on like the 4th hole. Because it's like high elevation too. Well, from original hole 1, not. Okay, I think we're ready.
You just heard Erica Stinchcomb, the local, talking about original hole 1, playing a little bit of a different layout this week. Cy not able to punch through the tree as she did on the last. We'll have a long putt. Now Erica Stinchcomb.
It
lucky tree there, Brian.
Feels to me like the shot here is a flippier disc than you think because of the undulation going down left, and throwing it low enough to slide up to the basket. Yeah, Kristen just kind of swung that one way wide right, played the skip with the slope.
Looked like a slower disc there too, so
yeah,
it settled a little quicker. Not every player afforded the chance to slow down.
Okay. Jessica up there a little bit. Decent shot. Still a little bit of work to go. Tricky little hole.
Ahead to the 9th, look at this view and look at this drop-off. 543 feet. Par 4 breaking from right to left. Van Dyken on the top of the world here.
That needs a bit more flip. Okay. Down in the
distance.
Yeah, it's on that left side. She's going to have a couple of tight gaps that she has to hit if she wants to get up there for that 3 putt. But she's down.
It's wild on a par 4 at 543 feet to have the catch camera still behind the basket.
Yeah.
On a par 4, that's something we don't see every day on the tour. Stinchcomb now obstructed second. And a stress-free par. Sayananda, a little better off than I thought. You see on the extreme right of your screen the whiskers denoting 10 meters, so Sai in the neighborhood of 40 feet. We'll have that left for the par save.
Don't you do it.
No. Oh, dear. Roll away to circle's edge for Weiss.
You know, you see the slope on camera from the tee pad. It doesn't look that bad. Now we see Weiss down the hill. It is way higher up there than you think.
And from birdie to bogey for Jessica Weiss. Kristen Tatar for birdie. Breaking a multi-way tie in third.
And like you said, Missy Gannon stalling out. Missy Gannon has now bogeyed. She's at 7 under now from 8. Stacey Haas also went from 6 under to 5 under. That double-digit round I was talking about, still elusive.
And the feature car makes their way to the top of the hill. They'll be right here momentarily where Lindsay Fish teeing off.
Thank you. Okay.
Flying over now, the 9th.
I mean, this is one of the signature holes in the course, and there's actually a few shots like this out here, but this is just the most picturesque. And what I think is cool about this hole is you're shooting downhill, and it's very satisfying to throw this tee shot, but then you have a canopy of these pine trees that you have to get underneath if you want to access the basket. This is a hole that if you throw the right shot with the right disc, you can get up to the basket for a 2. I've seen it done multiple times with multiple different types of discs. I've seen mid-ranges, drivers, distance drivers, you name it. It just depends on how well you know your disc off elevation with that nose getting pushed down.
Now Lindsay Fish.
Oh, thank you.
And Van Dyken. Dan Carey, this to get up and down for a birdie. Not quite far enough outside for Deanne, but is inside the circle.
Kind of a tough round there for Deanne so far. Little bit of work left.
Important putt for Deanne trying to get this round back on track. Anna Stefanovic also at 3 over. And also to 2 over with a birdie here at the 9th. Van Dyken for the birdie and back to the tee pad here at the 9th.
It gets tricky when the wind picks up on this hole. You feel it off the tee, but then when you get down the hill, it's something a little bit different. And it looks like the trees are blowing in the background, so we'll see what Kristen has up her sleeve here. Looks like she's going driver.
Kristen Tatar has this disc moving left.
That's actually okay. That's probably a good kick for Kristen. She was moving a bit too far left. You want to push forward and low. Ideally, get under the canopy and take a skip.
Sayananda too far to the right. And down into the low spot there.
Done that a couple times this round. Aligned one way, pulled the disc the other way.
Erica trying to keep this low. Look at the wind. Lift the disc into the trees. Jessica Weiss. Good line here.
Yes! Beautiful.
Outstanding. To the edge of the bullseye here on the par 4. A chance for a second eagle of the day. Rolling back the Zuka replay. A new angle for you.
This is just one of those satisfying shots she's going to remember this whole weekend. Just gets the magic window, sneaks through that right side. Wow.
Tells the spotter to take this one off. To the 10th, Vanessa Van Dyken. 315-foot par 3. Lost that one off to the left a little bit. Overall, Missy Gannon currently on the par 5 finishing hole, 7 under for the round. Stacy Haas at 5 down.
Yeah, I think when you come up to this back stretch, there are some par 4s and par 5s that are really challenging to maneuver, and there is some roped off out of bounds coming up. I know Missy and Stacy are going into 18, which is a par 5 uphill, 663 with OB all down the right side. So there's still more bogey strokes to be had. You just have to keep it clean, put your opening shot in play out here, and you should be all right. 7 under par, still the hot score.
Sayananda with her second at the par 4. You can see the basket in the center left of your screen. Beautifully done there. Van Dyken at the 10th. We'll have that left for the par.
Erica still has a bit to go to the basket. This is not a guaranteed up and down from here. The ground is fast. Mm-hmm.
Looking down at Kristen Tatar. Runs
Eagle.
the putt. Deep in circle to Kristen Tatar for the eagle. Another look.
We've just been seeing this all year.
That's our Stunstein signature play of the day from Kristen Tatar.
And she now moves one stroke off Missy Gannon, 6 down through the front 9. Not too shabby of a start. Here's Sai.
Sai Ananda settles the nerves after that big putt. Cards a birdie of her own. Now Jessica Weiss. It's a little easier look at eagle. It's a good way to bounce back from a bogey.
I mean, it's not often you're going to get 2 eagles in one round, so soak that in. Not too bad for Jessica Weiss. Solid score there and a beautiful drive.
Erica Stinchcomb. And the foursome played the 9th at 6 under.
What an
Never
angle.
a doubt. Never a doubt. So 6 under par for that group on one hole. Not too shabby. Vanessa Van Dyken ahead at the 11th.
Just a tad overturned. It's a little bit more of a flex shot than that. Here's Kristen on 10.
Beautifully done. Playing with a lot of confidence right now.
I mean, it's easy to play with confidence. Like I said, they're not having to throw over rope constantly. They're able to land wherever they want to land. It's much easier to focus on your shots when you have the freedom to throw wherever.
Oh, Jessica Weiss, one tree to beat. We'll have a circle twos look for birdie. Sign on to doing a little geometry.
Never even played that one. That's the FPO one.
And a bullseye for Sai Ananda. Erica Stinchcomb going with the left-hand route. gets caught up. Nate Perkins, how are the legs feeling halfway through the round?
Yeah, feeling good, Grant. Appreciate it. That downhill walk on 9's fairway is just quite the treat. And for the card to play at 6 down right there is something we're just not really going to see again. So it was a pleasure. And this whole gallery was treated to a circle 2 putt from Kristen Tatar that just kind of lit the energy a little bit. So I'm just happy to be here, guys.
And we're happy you're there, Perk. Well done as always. To Stinchcombe. Little work left to do to save the par here. Jessica Weiss, a long but open look.
More spin.
Stinchcombe to save par. And Tatar with the birdie. Moving to 7 down on the day.
Very similar pace to Missy Gannon so far, so we'll see how this back nine plays for Kristen.
Ananda to 5 under par. Dan Carey at the 12th. Short par 4. Correction, this is the 11th. .342-foot par 3 here. Vanessa Van Dyken under the basket. Tap in for the par. Deanne Carey now for the birdie.
Yes.
Deanne Carey in for the birdie.
Just chipping away.
Beautiful overhead views from Flight Factory. Now Kristen Tatar. Bit wide.
I think the better play is the flex. Just a little bit more open. You get a little bit more distance. The hyzer is there. It's just a little bit more specific. And there are those pines you have to contend with.
Sayananda to that flex. Stalling out beautifully.
I mean, she showcased last week. She is throwing some of the most consistent flex shots in the FPO division. I mean, shots that you never thought were going to come out of the flight that just checked up beautifully and even getting a skip at the end. So nice shot there from Sai. And slight headwind for Jessica. Blasting something stable through, and there she is, a little bit deep.
Stinchcomb now appears to be looking to the right. And fooled me right up the middle. Dan Carey at the 12th, uphill par 4, sub 400 feet.
Sub 400 feet, plays about 2,000 feet, Grant. This is Heartbreak Hill, brother. This is a long way up there, up that hill. And although it says 400 feet, man, it plays so much farther. The rollaway potential is absolutely brutal. This is one of the signature holes out here, and you are going to be huffing and puffing once you get done with this hole.
Lindsay Fish. A lot of distance up the hillside. Now Van Dyken. We'll come back to Van Dyken. Tatar for a long birdie bid. Van Dyken ready to go at the 12th. Right up the middle. To Stinchcomb at 11. Stinchcomb with some work to do to save the par here at the 11th. To Weiss for birdie. Buckets for Jessica Weiss to 5 under par on the day. Stinchcomb now for the par save. And once again, saving par. Ananda for birdie.
I would say.
To the par 4 12th, Vanessa Van Dyken, her second.
Nice work.
Flying over the 12th.
Well, Grant, we're flying up Heartbreak Hill, and I have to tell you, it's not 394 feet. It's, like I said, 3,094 feet. At least it feels like it when you're throwing this tee shot. You're throwing something hard, and you're throwing something a little bit more understable because you're throwing so far uphill, and you're still only going to get halfway or just a little bit over halfway, and then you still have a little ways to go, and this ground right by the basket is so hard packed. The moment you land on that with a bad angle, you are rolling all the way down. It is a treacherous hole. And you really just have to breathe when you're walking up this hill. No matter how good a shape you're in, you're going to get to the top and you are going to be sucking wind, especially because we're jumping up about 3,000 feet in elevation in just under a week.
Van Dyken for the birdie. Turbo putt birdie for Lindsay Fish. Moving Lindsay to 2 under for the day. Overall, Kristen Tatar tied for the lead with a finished up Missy Gannon.
I have a feeling we're going to see Kristen continue on the pace she's at because these par fours are not the most technical holes on the planet. Kristen is just such a specialist at chipping away at those holes and not overexerting herself. I think the fact that she plays a pretty low impact style of golf is going to suit her well this weekend. And hopefully at Heartbreak Hill coming up here, Grant.
Perk is at the top of Heartbreak Hill, calling the action at the 12th.
Yeah, I'm just going to catch my breath here for a second. This is one of the steep hills you're going to see on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. It says 394. Brian said it played closer to 2,000. Of course, he's exaggerating there, but it is so significant. It probably plays close to 700 feet. And there's not really a wind that's going to be able to help you on this hole, but today they're kind of looking at the slightest headwind right to left. All players are going to be throwing driver here. Sai's got 12 speed. Of course, she's still going to stick with the two-step run. She cracks it over on a little bit of Annie. That Anheuser nose down angle is actually going to be able to help her climb the hill a bit. She's off to the right, probably still has 350 up the hill.
How's the rough in particular on the player's right, Nate?
Yeah, this fairway is actually pretty generous as Jessica just lands it center cut there. We have really the only place you don't want to land is 50 feet left of the center of the fairway where there's some pines and some thick brush. Kristen cracks over her 12 speed following in Jessica's steps, and she's going to have good footing there in the middle of the fairway. Erica going flippy driver here. A little low out of the hand, but she kind of popped the nose up and she's got plenty of distance. It's interesting to see a full shot go halfway up this hill, if that, but this is surely.
To Lindsay Fish ahead at the 13th.
Long par 4. This is more of a placement shot here. You still need to bite off a decent amount of distance. We'll see where she's at in relation to the hole. Still a bit of work to do. And now they climb. And it's just something you have to take your time with. I mean, I've played this hole numerous times, and you kind of learn each time you come here, you know, what discs fly uphill that steep. You learn to just pace yourself out here, because really the next hole, now it's turned into a par 4. We'll see Vanessa throw it right now. You don't get to ease up.
Legs probably burning just a little bit still. Vanessa Van Dyken should be well positioned.
Well, I caught up with Deanne Carey in a practice round on hole number 13. She says she hopes there's a backup on that hole so she can catch her breath after playing the previous one that our lead card is on now.
Stinchcombe's second. And to about 22, 23 feet.
And this shot in particular is going to showcase how truly good she is to this shot if she can pull it off. She's still about maybe just under 200 feet from the pin, uphill, having to throw from the patent pending stance.
Putting the trailing foot behind the marker.
Yeah, this is just to position her hips. What's key is keeping her center of balance centered, so to speak, not leaning over. Yeah, I mean, when we were watching her really start to blossom at the Texas State Championships, that was the shot that impressed me most, and I can still remember it, bending the corner on hole 8 way back then, and I was so impressed with that stretch-out shot. It is really not easy to consistently throw those well.
Kristen Tatar electing the forehand approach. And now Jessica Weiss. Also going with the forehand. Jessica saws that off.
Yeah, that's kind of an unforced error. Hopefully she can capitalize on the putt and erase that. But really, I mean, I like the forehand going uphill, especially if it's a short distance. You don't have to use your legs as much. It's much more release point oriented. You can throw it from a straddle. Whereas a backhand from a straddle is way harder to generate power. So should be pretty easy up and down for Kristen, but let's jump ahead. VVD here on 13. Basket is tucked back here. And that's going to be probably a pitch up for a par. And you see now, Grant, how uphill even just a 25, 30 footer is.
Weiss in better shape than I thought she would be.
You see a sigh of relief, yeah.
Breathing hard. Another look. That's the Halal Guy's spicy shot of the day. Stinchcombe for the birdie as well. Everybody with a chance.
What I like about this change is they gave the FPO the 400-foot par 4, and now the MPO play a shorter tee pad as a par 3, and it's the longest 287 you've ever played, Grant. So we'll see in the afternoon how
That'll be
they
fun to
attack that
watch.
hole as a par 3. It is tough.
That will be fun to watch. Sayananda to complete the star frame. A spicy star frame. Vanessa Van Dyken, her third at the par 4. Stress-free par. Let's look at the 13th.
So this used to be a par 3, and now they've turned it into a kind of pretty challenging par 4. I think the line, if you have the distance, is the big high stall shot to at least bite off as much as you can, flexing around these pines on the right. But otherwise, you're throwing a low screamer with a driver, hoping to catch some ground play and skip forward, and then you're having to slide one again under the canopy up to the basket here. Again, not that long of a hole, but technical and placement oriented. There's a lot of little pockets on this hole where you're not going to have a comfortable look to the basket. It's going to be some sort of 4 or 5 foot gap that you're going to have to trust your disc on. So we'll see.
Lindsay Fish throwing 2 at the par 4.
They keep getting you, Lindsay.
Late tree.
Oh, there are a lot of people down there.
Featured card will have to wait a few moments back at the tee.
Yeah, let's give it a go. We'll go wide.
No, Sayananda says her intended landing zone is clear, so forget the few moments of breathing room. After that hike up the 12th, Sayananda.
That line was looking really, really solid down that right side. Just caught a little bit of that pine. I like the idea, though. I think Jessica, oh, well, she's going to go forehand. That's an option Sai doesn't have necessarily. I've never seen this line before.
Little slip, but okay result.
Have to think she was trying to flex one down the left side. You saw her foot kind of fly out from under her there.
Kristen Tatar now.
Love your angle on that, Kristen.
And some love from Sayananda, complimenting her on the angle. And actually, throughout the Portland weekend as well, you could hear Sai just envying the consistency of those flex angles coming out of Kristen's hand, which is great seeing that Sai is a phenomenal flex thrower as well.
Good distance for Erica, a little bit off to the left. Ahead to the basket, Lindsay Fish got caught up. Needs to get up and down to save the par. Forget it. Forehand birdie for Lindsay Fish.
I mean, that's one way to do it, Grant. I'm not sure if she practiced that, but let's take a look at it again, playing a little ultimate stretch out flick. That's a goal.
Beautifully done. Flight Factory showing us the gallery following the featured card from high overhead on Blue Mountain.
Yeah, Lolo National Forest just spanning all over this land. And fun fact here I got from the TD, one of the only legal ATV trails is right here in Lolo National Forest, Montana being very protective of their land. And like I said earlier, even just having a disc golf tournament here is a big ordeal. And even being able to weed whack the putting green was something that needed to be ran by the Forest Service. So it's just fantastic what the team has been able to do out here.
Oh, Sayananda trying to protect that throwing hand. Definitely had to be mindful of that tree. Jessica Weiss, pretty open alley here, up the right, and then needs to dive left. Weiss is just outside the circle.
Course was put in the ground in 1992, revised in 2000 by a man only known as Z-Man. And we have to give a big thanks to that man because this is a one-of-a-kind property for disc golf. Here's Stinchcomb.
Thinking about the ceiling, finds the floor.
Well, and with Erica being kind of an air bounce thrower, it's a lot more geometry, so to speak, to have to do when you're lining up a low ceiling shot like that. How much can the disc rise coming out of your hand? And unfortunately, that's a common mistake.
Purposeful ground play from Kristen Tatar into the 10-meter circle for another look at birdie. Ahead to the 14th, Lindsay Fish on the par 4.
That's got to stay out of that tree now. Either side would have been great. And now that's going to be a pitch out and par at best.
Stinchcomb, very challenging up and down to save the par here. Van Dyken ahead at the 14th.
Yeah, that's going to be just fine. It's a little bit short, but as long as she has an alley to get up and down, she should be fine. Here's Cy.
Stress-free par for Sai Ananda. She'll stay at 7 under for the day.
Taking a look at the course so far, Grant, I have to ask you, very little artificial out of bounds out here. How do you feel about that?
Oh, I love it. I understand there are needs for out of bounds depending on the land you have to work with, but when you're fortunate enough to not need to rely on out of bounds. It's just a bonus when you get some land like that where you can not have to rely, even if it's purposeful out of bounds, or even if it's out of bounds that's very natural, like say a river or a creek. Nice to have the change up of being able to pretty much choose your own airspace most of the time.
Stinchcomb for par. She's been all over the basket with this really unique circle 2 putting style. And it comes out of her hand with such a nice trajectory. A little bit of nose up, a little bit of flex.
Tatar for another birdie.
Kristen is just playing so under control right now. Her play style even on this course is very low impact, like I was saying earlier. She's not expending a ton of energy out here, and she's just making her putts.
Tatar now clear by 2 over Sai Ananda. Ahead to Vanessa Van Dyken, her second at the par 4 14th. You can see the basket in the distance. A little bit short. Lindsay Fish in the tree.
Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, that's a way better spot than I was just.
Oh, Lindsay Fish. Unfortunate there. She'll reset, and so will we. Back in a moment on the Disc Golf Network.
I just got my hands on the Neutron Watt, a great new offering from MVP.
It's really reliable in the sense that you can throw it straight and it holds that straight line, but also even ripping it on Annie, you can get it to kind of gently pan, but it still has that nice glide even if you throw it on any sort of angle. It feels like the most happy hybrid between a putter and a mid, dead straight and neutral, exactly what you want.
Look at it for shots in the woods, ones that need to go dead straight through a gap and then never move and just finish right to the basket. Great approach disc for all types of players. I can't see anybody not loving the Watt.
Are you sick and tired of browsing through countless online stores for your disc golf equipment only to come up empty-handed? Look no farther. At Tintin Discs, we have a vast selection with pictures of each disc so you can find the exact one you need. We offer a wide variety of top quality brands at affordable prices, including discs, bags, accessories, and much more.
At Discraft, we don't wait to see what the future holds. We build it. The future is in your hands.
Lindsay Fish from 18 inches ahead of her last lie. Just trying to advance the disc. So her fourth now on the par 4.
Not bad. Not too bad. It is not often, Grant, that we get to descend upon a place like this. I'm sure our drone pilot is having a pretty nice day flying over this beautiful property.
So far in round one, exceptional play complementing the exceptional views at Blue Mountain. Starting on the first, Jessica Weiss. That's a par 4. And that's a bullseye. Kristen Tatar. En route to her first of 7 birdies thus far on the day, plus an eagle. Sai Ananda.
It's been a steady day for our feature card. Kristen currently 9 under par through 13 holes, and Sai at 7. We've been talking about Kristen's play being so steady. Sai has just been very quietly putting together a fantastic round herself, and right up there in second place. And this shot, probably the shot of the day. Unbelievable hyzer from Jessica Weiss.
That would be Jessica Weiss's second eagle in the opening 9. Ahead, Kristen Tatar, almost mechanical. That was another birdie for Kristen, and now Kristen is on the tee at the 14th. Electing to play wide to the right.
And I don't think she elected to go that wide. That's going to be a tricky situation unless she can somehow get between those pines and throw a backhand. That would require a little bit of good fortune. You want to just stick one right down the middle, right where Sai's aligning. You don't need to go that far. It's only 528 feet. You can even go mid-range off the tee if it puts you in a good position.
Just needs this to clear those trees on the left. It's in the tree on the left. Bounces out just a little bit.
We are going to see a Sai Ananda forehand from there. A little bit too far on the right side of that tree.
Jessica Weiss, similar line.
Yeah, that's better. It's an interesting layout of the hole because the trees are staggered in a way where, yeah, you miss the tree on the right, you look good, but really then you have to deal with the next one coming up on the left side, so you need to bite off a lot of distance.
Stinchcomb needs this to spike right there.
That'll be fine. That'll be okay. She's going to have a little bit of a hyzer there to the basket.
Van Dyken off the mark. That was a par opportunity for Vanessa Van Dyken, so still some work to do to save a bogey. Lindsay Fish, a lot of bad luck thus far. Needs this to save a double. BVD taps in for the bogey. Correction on Lindsay. That was for a bogey save. So Lindsay ends up with the double bogey at the 14th. Now we're back up the fairway. Kristen Tatar well off to the right, not out of bounds.
So I'm interested to see. She's going for some sort of flex sidearm. Does she have the distance with it?
Would have been tough. Perk, we're a little more out in the open than we've been for a while. Wind a factor here?
Yeah, the wind's kind of down, Grant, but what I do feel like is a factor is just the footing. As Brian was saying, mowing just really isn't allowed out here. And so the fairway's kind of matted down from where people have walked. But if you're off that fairway at all, as you could see there from Kristen, forced to go to the forehand, Erica forced to go to kind of a standstill, the footing is just so important here on this open par 4.
So she is going to try anything to not throw a forehand. And now she is going to adjust her spine tilt to keep her balance over that front foot so she can keep the hyzer angle.
All arm there.
Yeah, that's a tough shot. That's really difficult to execute, having to fight your body weight like that and still keep the disc on hyzer. She could have also taken the most overstable disc in her bag and stood up straight and kind of fell off of her lie as she threw. But either way, no matter how you spin it, it's tough.
Jessica Weiss now showing that even with a pretty good result off the drive, there's still some work to do here at the 14th. And now even more work to do for Weiss. Players coming out in the open and struggling. Deanne Carey up ahead at the 15th.
That's going to be pretty short. Not really look at the basket there. This is a very challenging par 3. They have this little window to throw through. It says 335. It plays definitely longer than 335. This is a tough 2 here.
Van Dyken appears to be looking well up the hillside. And that is well up the hillside. Back to Kristen Tatar, her third at the par 4. Kristen will escape with a par.
And really, as you should on a hole like this, I mean, there's no artificial out of bounds. So you saw Kristen completely pull hers off to the right, still has a completely wide open shot to advance the fairway and then a very easy up and down. I doubt we will see many bogeys on our top 4 or 5 competitors this tournament.
Weiss letting her card mates know it's her turn to throw. We still have a long look at a par save. Lindsay Fish ahead at the 15th. A little bit short, not an uncommon result. So back to 14 with Stinchcomb. Van Dyken, her second at the par 3.
Still a little bit of work to do for Vanessa, and now same thing here for Jessica Weiss. She's put herself to about 28 feet for par.
Great par save for Weiss.
I have to say the trajectory of her putts from circle's edge are looking fantastic. It's coming out a little bit lower. It's coming out with a little bit more spin, a little less wobble. That's fantastic. The speed is great. And I know that she struggled with her putt in the past, and she works extremely hard on it. So it's great to see her reap those benefits.
Stinchcomb for the par save. While the feature card makes their way to the 15th, we step away momentarily on the Disc Golf Network. Don't go away.
All the scoring that we do in our sport now is all digital. Having some sort of backup power source is going to be really important. You feel that it's a good quality product. And having the stash pack that holds the cable that connects to any device, it just works. And so that's why this thing really works for me.
Great Lakes Disc, located in Grand Rapids, Michigan, is a fully stocked retail disc golf store that fulfills all of your disc golf needs. We carry all of the major manufacturers, accessories, and offer player and event sponsorship, along with tournament payout assistance. To learn more about Great Lakes Disc, visit greatlakesdisc.com.
At Pound, the quality of our gear runs deeper than the stitching. That's why we make everything right here in the US, employing highly skilled, well-paid professionals. From bomb-proof Cordura fabric to YKK zippers and recycled plastics, we source the highest quality US materials to make the most comfortable, durable pack in disc golf. Our lifetime warranty stays with the pack, not the purchaser. So regardless of how you find us, we will be here to make sure your pack stays on the course and out of the landfill. Pound's integrity is held together with more than just thread.
To the challenging 15th, Brian Earhart.
Well, I have to say here, currently there are 0 birdies on this hole, and for good reason. You see this staggered gap with these pine trees. It forces the players to have to hyzer flip something with the slope of the hill. And again, we're at elevation. It's hard to have a disc that's going to ride up the flat all the way to the basket here. 335, a little bit uphill, playing closer to 350. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why players are not getting it. I think if you have the big distance, a big turnover left might be something, but no birdies yet.
Low rocket out of Kristen Tatar's hand following the slope of the hill. Comes up a little bit short, not as short as others have.
It's just interesting, you have players working very closely with a hyzer flip disc all season, and then you come to this elevation and it's riding straight for you. And you have to kind of relearn something, especially if you rely on that shot so much.
Sayananda going up to the right with a very fast disc.
And I like the idea, maybe a little bit lower from Sai. It's kind of a headwind right to left off the tee. So the height kind of got stalled out. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's just the gap that gives you the most distance up the middle is staggered in a way where the shape is so difficult to pull off.
Jessica Weiss right up the middle. Just a little lower than Kristen Tatar, so a little shorter. Stinchcomb. Stinchcomb got a little more height on that drive, but then got caught up on the right. Ahead to the green, the second card tapping in. Little turbo from Lindsay Fish saves the par.
I gotta respect the turbo putt. I mean, yes, you can use it when you're in the woods. Some players really like doing that from short distance. Then they don't have to worry about the yips. I mean, there's some players that have done stuff like that. Katie Tati from Estonia is another player that started doing a similar putt. I know Jennifer Allen has a fantastic, I think it's either a basketball style or turbo putt from short range sometimes. I respect it.
Short on the fairway, Erica Stinchcomb. It's a fine result there. We jump ahead to the 16th, Lindsay Fish, long par 3.
That will be something. That'll work.
Back to 15, Weiss. Forehand.
I think if the wind shifts away from this head right to left, we'll see a few more looks for birdie. A couple of long looks for the other competitors. Here's VVD on 16. 374 downhill. Can ride something a little straighter.
Good little piece of ground action there. Brings VVD shot back toward the circle. Now Ananda. Soft bid. And Tatar from about 3 steps closer.
Okay, so we will finish day 1 on hole 15 with 0 birdies. A lot of pars.
Erica Stinchcomb getting set
Yeah, Grant, only 3 bogeys on the entire field. The rest are 3s. Moving into the 16th. Not a lot of separation there, but definitely some separation holes coming up.
Long bid for birdie. Lindsay Fish ahead at the 16th. Now Van Dyken. This is also for a birdie. Just a little bit light.
It's a tricky hole they're walking up to now because it's 374. You think you're going to have to pull out something super fast. But the fact is, it does drop off downhill pretty significantly. So you can get away with throwing something slower and flippier than you originally had planned. Here's Deanne Carey. Bit of a bland day out here on the course for Deanne. You can kind of see it in her body language. She is ready to take another crack at this course, that's for sure.
That'll be a bogey for Deanne. So Deanne back to 2 over for the day. Stefanovic. Fish and Van Dyken. All parring. And we go back to the tee pad here at the 16th. Umbrellas coming out. The sun's rays always a little harsher at elevation. Kristen Tatar with the honors, unable to see the green.
I love the stability of disc that she chose on that one. It rode up all the way flat, was even turning over a little bit. I believe that's either a new driver in her bag or one that she's kept in her bag for flippy situations, and now it's getting some stardom out here on Blue Mountain.
This will be a great look from overhead at Saya Nanda's drive. Now on the ground as it comes into the green, overcooking the green.
And that could be obstructed as well. She could be about 45 feet with next to nothing. Hopefully she skipped far enough left. Here's Jessica. You have to get this thing to ride straight unless you're challenging those pines on the right, which it looks like she is.
This one following the slope of the hill will continue to skip down and to the left. And Erica a little bit short.
It's short, but it's in the range that she's been pretty hot from today. that 45, 50-foot range. And here we jump to 17, one of the signature holes out here at Blue Mountain. Just another beautiful top-of-the-world shot.
17th, a par 3 at more than 500 feet. They call it Cape Canaveral. Van Dyken ready to blast off.
Oh, got the turn, but the nose pushed down a little bit too much. That is not coming back. And that's the tricky part about throwing off elevation, Grant. It's just, especially when you're throwing drivers, it's so touchy.
Deanne Carey, late turn, now stalling a bit. Really well done. Back to 16, Jessica Weiss is not out of bounds.
Whoever's shaking the rope, please stop. Thank you.
Fine up there from Jessica Weiss. We'll have a short putt to save the par.
Another blue one. Yep.
Lackluster effort there for Stinchcomb. Still about 10 feet away. She's all smiles. She's back home here in Missoula. I'm sure life is good. It's a long stretch out there on the road. She's been working hard out there doing commentary for Jomez. And pretty much competing at every big stop that you could compete at. So it's been a busy year for Erica.
Sayananda, after that long drive, came to the ground very near the basket, but then skipped down the hillside. Kristen Tatar now just outside the 10-meter circle's edge. Looks to be about a 38 to 40 footer. You mentioned, Brian, no birdies on the day at the last, just one today at the 16th. Juliana Korver.
That must have been a very satisfying shot to watch.
Jessica Weiss missing that pop that you were mentioning, Brian, on that putt at the last. That one sort of flared on her. Now Stinchcomb for the par save. Quietly putting together a very solid round. We are ahead at the 17th. Vanessa Van Dyken overturned that drive from the top of the hillside. Tricky there. Brian, take us through 17.
Well, like I was saying, throwing off elevation in general is tough, but when you have to throw long and accurate off elevation, it gets so touchy, and there's so many factors you have to play into this. Number one, you have to know what the wind is doing out here, out in the airspace you're throwing to, not just the tee pad. So studying that during the practice days matters so much. When you're trying to throw 505, especially a lot of these FPO players who are probably capping close to 400 or maybe just a little bit over, you have to throw something really fast. You have to control the flip point. You have to control the height so the nose doesn't push down like we saw with Vanessa Van Dyken. There's just a lot of variables into throwing a full flight off this type of elevation.
Lindsay Fish. Birdie bid falls a little short, and that is a slow roll away, leaving a little bit more work. Deanne a little bit off today, as you mentioned. Van Dyken saves the bogey. She's at even for the day with 1 to play. Lindsay Fish, this also for bogey. Double bogey for Lindsay Fish. Back to the top of the hill. Feature card.
What's interesting about this finishing stretch is you are walking up a hill to throw another shot like we saw number 9, and then we walk back up a hill again to throw another tee shot on 18 that's very similar. So it's a big hike to finish off this course, and like I said, having the endurance throughout the weekend, having a game plan that is low impact, low energy, being able to club up, or I guess club down for that matter, to something glidier, flippier, just staying within your own limits and not trying to overexert yourself here.
Tatar will throw first.
Mashed potato!
Just wide there. Disc not able to hyzer back into the area around the basket. Sayananda, this looks fantastic.
Wow. 505 feet away. That was perfection.
Erica Stincham has had this shot many times before. Wants to swing this in late.
I have to think, Grant, this is probably one of the coolest home courses that you could possibly have. And I think of her being from Missoula, coming to play disc golf out here. Yes, there's other courses, but I have to think that she's spent quite a bit of time out here.
Jessica Weiss going to the forehand. Sayananda's shot from down the hill, watching this come in.
Just yanks it with a little bit of turn and then just naturally lets the disc come out. I mean, that got there fast.
Sayananda, sneaky distance given her short run-up.
Grant, I gotta tell you, this is no longer sneaky distance. I refuse to say that anymore with Sayananda. The disc is rocketing out of her hand. She has phenomenal spin and angle control. You can tell that she's been playing disc golf since the 2000s. I have just been so impressed with the way she's able to shape distance, but also accelerate distance as well. She has both types. She can throw a power hyzer just about as far as anybody, minus a handful of players. And the way she works these turnover lines is so skillful. And the craziest part is she can really lean her entire body into these long turnovers, and they always seem to check up. Like this one here at the Portland Open, playing the wind perfectly, getting it to flatten and then check up, bending the corner, and then skipping to add an extra 35 feet of distance. Don't you dare say sneaky ever again, Grant.
Oh, I'm sorry. Everybody knows.
Well, I think this is a new development in us being able to follow her as an athlete, and I definitely understand where that comes from, but man, she is proving it. It's definitely time to give her her flowers, so to speak.
Van Dyken off the tee at the lone par 5.
That's an okay place to be, as long as you're down at the flat.
Weiss inches from the forehand from distance. One more look.
Well, if there's a player I have to pick to throw in with a forehand for me from that distance, it's going to be her, Kat Mertsch, and I think she just showed off why.
Tatar laying up, content with the par save at the 17th. Fish at the par 5 18th. Green flag from the spotter. Back to Erica Stinchcomb at 17. This for birdie. Sayananda to pull within one of Kristen Tatar. Weiss, Stinchcomb, and Tatar save the par. Sayananda, the lone birdie on the day at 17. And back now to 18, Van Dyken, her second at the par 5.
You just need to get left here. You need to give yourself an easy opportunity to bend the corner up the hill. I believe she has done that.
There's a rock wall up the right-hand side. It's in front of the signage. That is one of the few notable areas of OB on the entire property.
And I think it's tastefully done. I think it's necessary. It would make the hole way too simple if you could just play out to the open and play up that easy right side. So forcing them to kind of bend this corner left and fight against those big pines guarding the basket, I think it's a really cool finishing hole. But I will say, off the tee, you don't need to bite much at all if you want to take the 4 here. Mid-range is completely sufficient. Any sort of stable or overstable driver. Let's actually fly the hole so I can show you what I mean. You're still teeing off elevation. As you saw, Kristen Tatar, the rest of the feature card, walking uphill to get back to this tee pad. And you just need to clear this initial section of pines. The drone is about to fly the gap that you need to hit. You see the OB down the right side. And if you can land even just right here, throw a putter or a mid-range off the tee, stick it, that's totally fine. Then your second shot, you have options. You can throw a big Stahlheiser and try to stick it in this landing zone off to the left, giving you an easy up and down to the basket. You can even play it super safe and left, and as long as you're left enough, you'll have another straight alley up to the basket as well. I believe that there's a couple players in this field that can play for a 3 here if they want to go flexi distance driver. But still, no matter how far that initial drive gets, your landing zone has to be very particular if you want to be able to get up there for the 3.
Deanne Carey went out of bounds, so is now throwing 4.
And, you know, I hate to speculate, but it looks like these are some tired throws coming out of Deanne's hand. And, you know, having a tough round out here, it's exhausting, to say the least. So probably not entirely physical tiredness either.
Tailwind. Slightly off the left shoulder.
Let's actually throw it down to Nate Perkins one more time. Nate, give us the wrap up here. What did you see during this round 1, and what are you seeing here on 18?
Yeah, you know, I was kind of expecting, you know, the players to be struggling a little bit more with the adjustment and the stability of their discs, but a lot of them were just really in tune with the understability, and there were a lot of really sweet downhill shots that they shaped up beautifully. And here on the 18th, they actually have a helping wind off their right shoulder, slight right to left, so it's gonna help them punch this one through the gap and stay away from the OB on the right side here.
Sayananda, that's just fine.
Yeah, that's perfection if we're playing for the 4 here. I would have to assume Kristen's doing the same. You know, Grant, it's so interesting. You watch Kristen just kind of chip her way around these courses and have so much success. And then we look back on the other end when Paige was shooting close to 1,000 rated golf every weekend. Paige was going for any eagle that there was under the sun. And it's just interesting to continue to analyze those two different dominant playing styles.
Stinchcomb manages to get through the pines out into open space. That should be just fine. And Weiss out into the open. Fish throwing 2 at the par 5. Up to the second landing zone. That was moments ago. This is Weiss's, check that, Fish's third. Looking up the hill at the basket. Gets that disc to bound up the hillside. Now Van Dyken's third.
Not too bad.
A little short. If you're watching on YouTube, lots of action coming, most of which you'll find on the Disc Golf Network. Next week's Dynamic Discs Open out on the plains of Kansas. Then to Des Moines for the Des Moines Challenge. Finally, as we roll from June into July, we'll be at the Preserve in Minnesota, Kayla Viska's property. And then another silver event, the Kansas City Wide Open. That's an event that's been going on for a long time. Lots of opportunities to watch some great live disc golf on the network. Anna Stefanovic. This is for par. Van Dyken for a closing birdie. Almost cruel the way you have to climb the hill one last time. Van Dyken will end at even. Lindsay Fish with a birdie. Also to even par for the day. Let's see it one more time.
Generates a lot of power, bringing it down to the lead leg. Fantastic finishing putt there. Now Deanne Carey. Definitely a tough round to her standards. But 2 more rounds to play, and honestly, a lot of birdies she can pick up that she did not get this round. Deanne normally thrives playing this kind of golf, and I think it's just one of those days.
Stefanovic finishing up, as is Vanessa Van Dyken, VVD. And just one group left on course. Stinchcomb, already airborne. Flirting with the OB. Fortunate kick straight down off of that tree. So Stinchcomb is in bounds.
This hole is a pretty healthy mix of scoring. We have 5 birdies in the hole so far. We have a handful of 8 or 7 pars, and then the rest just bogey or worse. And I think that's a great even spread here. I think this is probably one of the most fair holes for the FPO division on this property.
Good finishing hole as well. Sort of an anything can happen feel to it. That secondary landing zone is not wide.
No, you have to choose left and a little longer second shot, or you try to sneak one up this gap and give yourself a decent angle to the pin. Jess is just a bit too far back to be comfortable. Still an opportunity, I believe.
It looks like just making it to that cluster of smaller trees, just about in the middle of your screen, now about to move out of the top of your screen. It's the cluster of trees inside of the rock wall. Getting to that corner seems to be objective 1. There are those smaller trees there. Just beyond them is a bare patch of ground. That would be ideal. Sai needs a lucky skip and doesn't get it.
And where she went out, that's a terrible position. She's now stuck behind those pines. She has no option to throw a big turnover. She might be able to take the disc far away from the OB and come back and give herself a decent angle, but that was a rough mistake.
Surprised at the decision there with the way Sai's been throwing turnovers all day?
Not necessarily. Really, what I'm noticing is she's just been pulling a lot of her drivers right. And I think no matter if it was turnover or hyzer, that was just a common mistake. I think the shot itself was totally fine to do.
Kristen Tatar may be fortunate to catch that tree, as that disc would have been finishing hard to the right, bringing the OB line into play. So both of our leaders flirting with danger, Sai getting the worst of it.
Yeah, it's actually, had that forehand landed in bounds, which I think it might have pushed forward, she would have had a much easier option of getting up and down to the basket. I think Sai actually dodged a bullet on that one, because now Kristen has some work left to do as well. Now, Sai can try to throw a hyzer over the out of bounds if she wants to do that. It depends on which way the wind is going. Nate, can you analyze some of these lies and some of these decisions?
Yeah, the way they set this out of bounds up, Brian, it's pretty brutal. It forces most of the players to play left of this giant ponderosa pine, kind of drawing it back into the pin. And this tailwind is not helping these uphill shots. It's just kind of going to slam them into the ground here.
That's exactly what we just saw.
Well, Nate,
great insights today, Perk. Go ahead, B.
Well, I just wanted to say, Nate, I mean, you watched the first round here. Give us the overall insight. What did you notice about the way the players are playing the entire property?
Yeah, I felt like there was a lot of scoring on the front, especially with a few of those kind of shorter par fours that were attackable for eagle. And then as you kind of get into these late holes on the back, we're not seeing a ton of birdies. And so it's definitely going to come down to the back nine of this final round to determine the champion here in the mountains.
Perk, are you thinking fatigue is an issue? Is it the style of hole that just lowers the scoring opportunities? What are the factors?
Yeah, I think fatigue could come into play for some of these players. I feel like most of these athletes are primed. I mean, there were a few holes where, you know, you were breathing heavy, but for the most part, these players are primed to hike a course like this. But yeah, this is definitely the most significant hike of the year thus far.
Thanks, Perk. We'll catch up with you later. As Kristen Tatar, forehand up to the top of the hill. Bullseye for a birdie opportunity for Kristen Tatar and a chance to extend the lead.
Yeah, I think the two eagles that really you could potentially call them par threes, especially hole one. It kind of gives a false sense of how, you know, quote unquote scoreable the front nine is. It's still a front nine that you have to earn your birdies on, but yeah, the back just, there's some weird angles and tough shapes distance wise where carting a handful of birdies is not easy. So I think Perkins is dead on the money saying that if you can put together a 4 under par in the back nine, you're going to take strokes on quite a few players out here.
Sayananda in danger of giving several back to the course here. We'll have that putt to save a bogey. Stinchcomb up to the flat will have a par saving opportunity. Good putt from the local Erica Stinchcomb. Erica will play from the chase card on day number 2. Sayananda, this for bogey. And despite the bogey, Sayananda will be on the lead card. Jessica Weiss to a tie for 4th. And Tatar. The lead now 3 for Kristen Tatar. Sarah Holcomb, a good showing today. Juliana Corver onto the front page of the leaderboard. So is Kona Montgomery. Nice to see her name on the front page. Trina Allen also there in the mix, tied for 8th. We'll be back with the OTB after show right after this on the Disc Golf Network.
What makes the Halal Guys so deliciously different? You might have heard of our famously long cart lines that NYC fans happily stand in. Today, with over 100 plus restaurants across the globe, we are your place to experience authentic American halal. Enjoy our delicious falafel, Euro sandwich, platters, and sides topped with our famously flavorful white and hot sauces. Order online today and taste how we make different so delicious. The Halal Guys, bringing something deliciously different to the table.
Repetitive stress injuries are one of the most common reasons that disc golfers have to take time off from playing the sport they love. With the average disc golf bag weighing up to 25 pounds, this can add up to over 2,000 pounds of accumulated stress on your body during a single round. A cart gives you the ability to bring what you need on the course without the repetitive heavy lifting. This reduces the number of stress points you experience during a round, keeping you at your best.
One of my favorite memories growing up was a trip I took with my dad to Hawaii. We just got done with a round of disc golf and decided to listen to the Grateful Dead. Without saying anything, we both knew we needed to dance, and that's exactly what we did. Sometimes you just need to stop and enjoy the music.
How is your putter release so powerful even as far out as 50 feet? A lot of the power on my putt is generated from like a little finger pop / wrist action at the very end. Hold a disc in your hand even when you're sitting down on a couch. You can kind of just pop it up, try to like pop the disc vertical, do this and just slowly practice getting it higher, and you're just really trying to use your wrist, not really your arm. That's how I do it, and that's a tip to how you can do it too.
Got 41 feet for Gossage.
It's a game of inches. The Portland Open champion, Adam Hammis.
Wrapping up day number 1 in the FPO division here at the Zootown Open, the Blue Mountain course on display. Amongst those leaders, lots of fantastic shots today. We'll call these the also-rans for the OTB shot of the day. Pretty good honorable mentions here, Brian.
I mean, opening the day off with this flex shot. I mean, if you've played this hole, you know how tough the basket is to access. And for her to just come in clean like that, that is so impressive to start the day with an eagle. Some touch here from Sayananda on 7. This is a tough hill to stick on. I think this course just sets up well for highlights. I mean, look what we saw from Jessica Weiss here on number 9.
Eagled 1 and eagled 9.
It's just it just reminds you of the course you fell in love with disc golf on, and I think that's why the players are really overall so happy to be out here. And then you see Sayananda come up to 17, throwing an absolute dime from 505 feet away, sticking it right next to the basket for another birdie. I like the way this course is scoring for the players, for sure.
If none of those were the OTB shot of the day, which one was? That one was.
What an angle. What an angle on the putt, just showing you how long it truly was. and just dropped like a grenade.
Emmy worthy for the cameraman. -2 on the scorecard for Kristen Tatar.
With the drop off behind it, that was so aggressive. One of the most enjoyable disc golf holes to play.
We're not done for the day. Back here just a little bit more than 2 hours from now for the afternoon round. The NPO go off at 3 p.m. Mountain Time. Make sure you join us here on the Disc Golf Network for continuing coverage here of the Zootown Open from Missoula, Montana. A couple of tweaks to the course for the NPO field. A few holes a little longer, a couple of holes a little shorter, and I'm sure plenty of opportunities for highlights, wouldn't you say, B?
Absolutely. This is one of the coolest courses to watch elite players play on. So definitely check out the afternoon round. You will not want to miss it today.
Thanks for watching. Go grab some lunch, will ya? And join us right back here on the Disc Golf Network here in just a couple of hours. So long for the moment from Missoula, Montana.